Have you ever visited a place so beautiful that it made you forget to be afraid? That was exactly how Serime made us feel. But behind its peaceful rivers, smiling villagers, and ancient traditions, was a secret we still couldn't explain. And before the day was over, one careless decision would change everything. Morning arrived quietly in Serime. The first sounds we heard were not car horns or the noise of the city. They were birds singing, the gentle rustling of leaves in the cool morning breeze. For a moment, I forgot we were strangers in an unfamiliar land. There was something peaceful about waking up in Serime. Something almost magical. After preparing ourselves, we made our way back to the king's court. The warmth of the morning sun followed us as we walked through the village. The people who had looked at us with fear the previous day now greeted us with curious smiles. Children who had hidden behind their mothers peeked out again, waving shyly as we passed. Slowly, Serime was opening its doors to us. When we arrived at the palace, we found King Berwi Toroba seated comfortably on his royal chair. The events of the previous day still filled our minds, and the questions we had about this mysterious village had only grown stronger. Finally, Mora could no longer hold back her curiosity. "Your Highness, can you tell us how your village came into existence?" Mina immediately added, "Yes, I am curious too." It was the first time she had spoken much since we arrived, and we all turned to look at her. The king smiled gently. Then his gaze drifted upward toward the sky, and he began to tell us the story of Serime. He spoke of a time long before civilization reached those lands. A time when his forefathers fought fierce battles to protect Serime. He spoke of wars, victories, sacrifices, and the courage that had kept their people alive for generations. As his voice grew stronger, it was as though the palace itself came alive with the echoes of drums, festivals, and celebrations from long ago. For a moment, we weren't listening to history anymore. We were living it. Just then, a young woman stepped gracefully into the palace. She knelt respectfully before the king. With a gentle smile, he rested his hand on her shoulder before introducing her to us. "This is my daughter, Princess Oresane." She rose gracefully and smiled warmly. "Welcome to our village. It may not be very big, but I promise you, it is a beautiful place to be. I heard about what happened to your boss, and I am truly sorry." Mina thanked her politely. But someone else had completely forgotten how to speak. "Toby." He stared at the princess as though the rest of us had disappeared. Poor Ralph had to elbow him sharply before he finally blinked back to reality. I almost laughed. The king continued telling us the story of Serime, taking us through generations of courage, sacrifice, and triumph. When the king finished, Mora smiled warmly. "Thank you, Your Highness. We truly appreciate you sharing the history of your people with us." She hesitated for a moment before asking, "If it pleases you, where can we freshen up before it gets too late?" The king nodded. "Oresane will take you to the river alongside Nana, Atara, and my guards." Then he smiled again. "She will also provide fresh clothes for all of you." We hurried back to our huts to gather our things. Waiting outside was Princess Oresane. In her hands were neatly folded traditional wrappers. Shola admitted that none of us knew how to wear them properly. The princess laughed softly. "Do not worry. I'll help you after your bath." We followed her through a narrow bush path. Soon we reached a fork in the road. The boys were directed to the left, while we followed Oresane to the right. "Why are we separating?" I asked. Oresane smiled. "In our tradition, men and women do not bathe in the same river. When we arrived, I was surprised. There were earthen pots, small thatched bathrooms, even simple pit toilets. The princess explained that everything had been built under the guidance of the priest who once lived among them. The cool river washed away the dust and weariness of our long journey. For the first time since leaving home, we truly felt refreshed. By the time we returned to the meeting point, wrapped in our traditional clothes, the boys were already waiting. Ralph folded his arms dramatically. "You ladies took forever." Mora laughed and apologized. As we walked back toward the palace, Aresane pointed at rows of trees planted between both riverbanks. They weren't there by accident. They had been planted to protect the privacy of both the men and the women whenever they came to bathe. But then, everything changed in a single moment. Toby quietly stepped closer to the princess and reached for her hand. Before anyone could react, the guards shoved him away. The elderly women gasped. So did we. For one terrifying second, I thought they were going to hurt him. But Princess Aresane quickly raised her hand. Enough. She walked over, reached down, and helped Toby back to his feet herself. That was when I truly looked at her. She was neither too tall nor too short. Her ebony hair was woven into beautiful twisted braids, and her rich chocolate skin seemed to glow beneath the warm afternoon sun. She looked directly at Toby. "Please, never touch me like that again. The guards may not be so gentle next time." Then she spoke words that left us all stunned. "No man is permitted to touch the princess. Not until the official rites of marriage have been performed." Toby apologized so quickly that even Ralph struggled not to laugh. The rest of the journey back was unusually quiet. When we returned, the king smiled warmly as he looked at us dressed in the traditional wrappers. "Now, you look like my own people." Then Mina asked about Christmas. The king's smile slowly disappeared. "Since the priest left, we no longer celebrate as we once did. The children miss the games, the drummers, the joy." Something stirred inside me. Without thinking, I stood. "Your Highness, if you don't mind, we would love to organize a Christmas celebration for everyone in the village." The king's face brightened immediately. Then I gathered enough courage to ask one more favor. "May we return home on Christmas Day, after the celebration? Our families must be worried." Before the king could answer, Princess Aresane stood. "I wish you would stay longer. It would make me very happy if you didn't leave that day." And before any of us could think, Toby spoke. "We'll gladly stay until the day after Christmas." We all turned and stared at him. Again, the king smiled. The princess smiled even more. And just like that, our departure had been postponed. By Toby. Again. Back at our huts, Mora wasted no time scolding him. But the moment we stepped inside, our frustration disappeared. The lamps had already been lit. Our NYSC uniforms had been washed, clean, and neatly hung out to dry. A few moments later, Princess Aresane arrived carrying baskets filled with ripe mangoes. "Forgive us for entering your hut without permission," she said softly. "I noticed these were the only clothes you had." We thanked her sincerely. Before anyone reached for the fruit, I reminded everyone to pray. The princess smiled. "The priest taught us that too." When I mentioned that my mother had raised me that way, a hint of sadness lingered in her eyes. "It must be wonderful to have a mother." Her words stayed with me. We spent the evening talking about our homes, our cities, and the world beyond Serime. When it was finally time for her to leave, she became sad, but smiled gently. There will definitely be tomorrow. Later that night, after our prayers, I reached for my phone. No signal. I frowned. That's impossible. We had network just a kilometer away. Mora checked hers. Nothing. Shola checked hers too. Nothing. We were completely cut off from the outside world. As I lay awake on the bamboo bed, listening to the silence of Serime, I couldn't shake the feeling that this village was hiding far more than beautiful traditions. Something about this place didn't want us to leave.